The latest national disgrace brought upon Nigeria over the recent seizure of 3 presidential jets by Chinese company Zhongshan Fujian Industrial Investment Co. Limited has left many Nigerians bewildered. With each passing moment, the sense of annoyance grows as Nigerians witness their country's reputation dragged through the mud on the world stage. The echoes of incompetence, corruption, and disrespect reverberate through the nation, painting a grim picture of lost dignity and shattered pride. In 2016, Chinese firm Zhongshan brought a case against Nigeria in an independent United Kingdom tribunal over a license termination deal between Ogun State and Zhongshan. The Supreme Court awarded Zhongshan $74.5 million in compensation, leading to the seizure of presidential jets, including a Dassault Falcon 7X, Boeing 737, and Airbus 330, currently undergoing maintenance. To understand the rules of engagement in international relations, Rootstv spoke with international human rights lawyer Kola Alamini. He is a U.S. Secretary of State awardee on international religious freedom. He shares his insight on why a Chinese firm can seize the Nigerian presidential aircraft. Alamini said the lack of respect for the rule of law that has sunk deep into the fabric of Nigeria as a society is what led to the Ogun State reneging on their agreement with the Chinese firm.
Nigeria has a bilateral agreement with the Chinese. Now, a subnational in Nigeria, a subnational state, Ogun State to be precise, entered into agreements with this Chinese company. And they reneged on the agreement by saying, oh, maybe somebody just woke up on the wrong side of bed and felt it wasn't going to continue with it. Oh, we didn't get a good deal enough. Agreements, as Sophia would say, agreements and agreements. Once you've entered into this documentation, you are bound by it. But because we've lived for so many years under military regimes where there was no respect for the rule of law and order, it has seeped deeply into the fabric of the community, the country, the society. Even you sign an agreement, a tenancy agreement with a landlord, the tenant starts violating it, or it's a landlord that does so, and everybody, it just becomes what we say, yam pepe scatter scatter. And that is what happened. They cancelled this agreement without any care in the world, thinking, do your worst, there's nothing you can do. But there was a bilateral treaty, bilateral agreement between China and Nigeria. Nobody knows Ogun State in China. So that agreement is guaranteed. It's called a sovereign guarantee. No matter what happens, when an agreement goes into default, in Nigeria, we will, or any of the parties, can approach arbitration and get a decision on it. And that's what it did. So it's Nigeria that is the guarantor. So whatever Ogun State has done, or maybe Yobe State will do, or Cross River will do, they won't go after those states. They don't care, because they didn't enter into bilateral treaties with those states. You enter into bilateral treaty at government level between nation states, and there was an oversight there. Some things happening at the state level where the Federal Attorney General might not be aware, because he is supposed to be part of the agreement. Even the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are supposed to be part of this agreement. There's an international law department at the Attorney General's office, and also at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That we have experts. That's the thing. We're very brilliant people.
Alamini believes this current exchange between the Nigerian government and the Chinese government won't affect our bilateral relations, as both entities need each other, especially Nigeria.
We're the ones begging the Chinese. They have pumped so much money into Nigeria, so much infrastructure, and we're the ones, look everywhere. the industries, the railways. It's not going to affect us. We destroyed the agreement. We didn't pay attention to the letter. Someone acted with impunity, as we always do in Nigeria, thinking nothing will happen. That's what happened. So it's not going to affect our relations. I mean, you can see they even released one of the jets as a goodwill gesture to the president. It's okay, you can fly with it. But the law is the law. They're going for their pound of flesh now. We chased them out of Ogun State, and they said we've lost investments. So they would go for their pound of flesh. That's my opinion. I might be wrong, but that's what it looks like when you look at all the judgments and from the arbitration and decisions, and they're just going after one asset.
He also called for consolidated cooperation between the sub-national and the federal governments of Nigeria, as a lack of awareness of legal details led to the recent seizures of the presidential aircraft.
What you need to do is to go inside, come back inside, and make sure that you're doing the right thing. When, like I said earlier, when all these subnational states are going into agreements and this and that, it has to be supervised. It has to be supervised, and they have to let them know the implication of what they're doing. No one should be entering into third-party agreements. All these governors, they fly out of the country, they say we're going to attract investment. At that point in time, the federal government should be involved before they sign anything. The Attorney General should be involved, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But also because the government at the federal level may be different from the government at the state level, and then they feel, oh, the federal government is not going to allow me to do it. They want to take the shine. I want to really do this for my people. And no, there should be more coordination between both the state and federal government. The federal government is going to be, the Attorney General, being the chief law officer, is going to be able to spot a lacuna or loopholes and say, this agreement is not favorable, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, and give a sound legal opinion that would save us from this issue.
Could the federal government and the Ogun State government have done things differently?
Should have a terminal date. If you know that you cannot persuade them to renegotiate the contract, you just wait for the terminal date. And then the Chinese will come back and they'll say, oh, well, are you going to extend this? Then you have the power and demand for all you want. If you say, yes, you're going to extend it, this is the percentage you're going to give us. It's no longer, I don't know the exact percentage, it's no longer 25% or 50%. It's going to be 80%. You take 20. We're giving you enough time to recoup your investment. That's the normal thing to do. You can renegotiate contracts. You can talk about it. If you try to talk about it and they don't listen, just wait, because a contract does not go on endlessly.
Finally, international law knows no bond, as respects the rule of law is the face card of bilateral trade and international trade. Nigeria losing its presidential jet and assets is a result of negligence and lack of respect for the law, a pervasive character in Nigeria that has made it the 145th most corrupt country, according to the Transparency Survey 2023. As Nigerians and civil organizations demand due diligence and transparency in government contracts, it is imperative that the government heed these calls moving forward.